all-time favorite players, and it's sad that his career ended short because of some foot issues. And I've never really been sad about football, but the day he retired, that was a day that it just kind of hurt my heart. It's like I felt like he was like family, and my wife's looking at me funny, like what is wrong with you? I'm like, you just don't understand. I grew up in the
Yeah.
'90s, and you see good Yankee. I'm a Yankees fan, but you see these guys retire, and you grew up with these guys, and you see them get out of the league, and they're retiring, and for a guy like Willis to retire early, that just hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? I got to go back and mention as a fellow veteran as well. Appreciate your service, brother.
Oh yeah, no
Especially
problem,
Veterans Day
man.
just passing. I
Yeah.
was 6 years Army.
Oh, 5 years Navy.
All right.
Well,
Finally got a Navy guy in here. I like it.
there you go. Thank you very much, sir.
Also, too, as well, so now I've drifted away from baseball, but there's a reason for it. I grew up in the 90s, and I fell in love with baseball when I watched the Four Horsemen for the Yankees get
Yeah.
drafted, and those guys were like my all-time favorites. And then when Jeter and Mo and Posada all retired within the couple years they did, whew, man, it just tore the heart out of me for that sport. And I just never felt the love that I had for the game because when you get Mo, when you get Jeter, when you get Posada and Pettit, they're just they just I don't know they meant what the definition of baseball was as a team
Yeah.
for those four guys, and to stick with the Yankees that long and produce what they did, it's just that's why I fell in love with the sport to begin with. And I drifted off. I don't hate it, I don't dislike it, it's just I don't know. I tried watching Yankees game, a couple of them this year, and I'm like, why doesn't it feel the same? I'm
It
not used to
doesn't.
not seeing number two
Yeah.
out there, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I can't number 42. I can't watch it without
For
without
sure.
watching those, man. But back to football. Sorry, guys, didn't mean to rabbit hole on that. So, who are your top five all time 49ers?
Um, the all-time guys, the top five. I go off of guys that I've seen play. I can't say I've seen Joe play in his heydays. I'm not that old. I'm only 33, so it's not like
I
I
feel
was
like every
that.
49er says that. Like they go ahead and even the young ones like, yeah, Joe Montana. I'm like, dude, you're like
Yeah, no, I like to speak on the
three,
guys.
quiet.
Yeah, I like to speak on the guys that I've seen. Like
Yeah.
I've seen Jerry Rice, and I was unfortunate I saw him play in a Raiders uniform. That still to this day irritates me. But Jerry's number one. Steve Young's
At
number
least it
two.
was. Oh, I can't say a Seahawks. Rice did play in the Seahawks jersey.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot about that. My
He was
bad.
good. Hey, edit this out. Edit that out. Yeah, but no, Jerry's number one. Steve's two. Frank Gore is number three, and Frank's still kicking.
Hey.
And I follow everything he does, no matter where he's playing at, whether that's Indy, Miami, now Buffalo. For people who have this questions about his Hall of Fame status, two words: shut up. The man is a Hall of Famer. Period.
He's fourth on the all-time rushing list. Of course he is.
The argument is, well, he played forever. Well, so did Emmitt Smith. So
If Emmett didn't go to the Cardinals, he never would have broke the record. And if Barry Sanders played another 3 seasons, he would have smashed it.
exactly. So you got to give these guys their credit. For Gore to do what he's doing at age 36, is out. It's astonishing. And for him
And
to
it's from
just
team to team too. Like
exactly.
it's not just like one team keep playing on. No, he's doing it from team to team, different schemes, and he's still producing.
Yeah. And with Frank, Frank lost a lot of good years with bad Niner teams. Like those years with Mike Nolan and Singletary, and then you get Harbaugh in there, and things just click. It changes, and here we go. So for a guy like Gore to still be doing it at his age, he's number three for me. And then Patrick Willis number four. Patrick is just. It's Patrick Willis. I don't really think I need to say too much there.
Oh, you just said it a minute ago about him, so we fully understand.
And then, it could be a number of guys for five. Joe Staley, Ricky Waters, Garrison Hurst. But, I'm going to lean more so Joe Staley. For him to be doing what he's doing in his 12th or 13th year, staying with one team, that's big. It's not often you see guys stay with one team this long. And Staley, just like Gore, played on a lot of bad Niner teams, went through the Harbaugh years, and then back to bad Niner teams. And now, the Niners are 9-1. They are where they are. And he hasn't been able to play that much this season, but he's still around. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on his team. And Joe Staley, it's not often you get a left tackle with his longevity and in one spot. So Joe, those five would be my five: Jerry, Steve, Gore, Patrick Willis, and Joe Staley.
Well, you know what? Jumping from those all-time favorite Niners of yours into today for both of our teams, do you see any similarities like we do as Jay and I between Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur on how they run their teams? I know Kyle's been there a year already before, but I just being both from the same coaching tree, I didn't know if you're seeing any similarities from an outside Packers perspective on how they're both run.
Yeah, I mean, with Kyle came in, basically had to rebuild the roster. 3 years ago, with Chip Kelly, he leaves, they redo the whole roster, and now he's starting to build his team the way he wants to. Whereas I'm kind of viewing Matt LaFleur kind of like Sean McVay. He inherited a good quarterback, he inherited a decent offensive line, he's got some pieces, but he also added this offseason, the two Smith brothers, and then you got to give Gutekunst some credit, for going out and drafting Jair Alexander, Kevin King, those guys like that, making the defense a lot stronger. And then addressing the wide receiver position with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Jermano Allison, and then who's the kid from Notre Dame? Is he not playing this year?
Who for running back?
No, for the Pack wide receiver.
Oh, Equinemius St. Brown. He injured himself in preseason, and he ended up going to the IR.
Okay. But yeah, to your question though, about do I see them building their team similar? Yeah, of course. The Niners, Aaron Rodgers, I guess they're building their team based on their wide receiver and their quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has been known to have one of the stronger arms in the NFL, so he's got bigger wide receivers that can get downfield a little bit better. Whereas the Niners are more of a dink and dunk type passing offense. The explosives comes from run after the catch, the yak yards. Whereas with the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, you let him get out, he's gonna chuck it all over the damn field and not turn it over, which is awesome. But similarities, yeah, they want to run the ball, they want to use their running backs on both teams. It's a pretty. I think this matchup is a lot more even than people want to suggest. There's a lot of what do the Niners got to do to beat the Packers? And it's a pretty even game to me, and I like what Matt LaFleur has done. And as far as the coaching tree goes, Kyle started under his dad, and then Kyle added Matt LaFleur to come in, and then Matt adds his brother Mike, who's on the Niners squad. So the tree will be growing very soon.
Oh God, yeah. And you know what? I've got to ask. Oh, I'm sorry. God, my headphone just fell out. I am so sorry. So, with this battle shows how strong, as you just mentioned, the Mike Shanahan tree has grown. Already with McVay and from underneath Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan to LaFleur, and now you just got Zach Taylor who came from McVay underneath Kyle and Mike. Over the next decade, how do you expect it to it grow? It seems like these younger coaches are just getting hired like wildfire, and these older guys are going to be getting phased out pretty soon. Do you think it's going to happen a lot more here than we've seen?
Yeah, the Niners, they went 4-12 last year, and the Niners had to turn down a lot of requests for interviews on their coaching staff. Guys like Mike McDaniels, LaFleur, Mike LaFleur. I keep getting them confused because they're brothers. But yeah,
you're good.
Mike LaFleur. They're getting their coaching staff poached. Guys like Rich Cangarello, he's the offensive coordinator now in Denver.
Kyle knows what he's doing, man. You got to give him credit.
Yeah, and and then from McVay's tree, you got Zach Taylor. I'm still kind of in flux on how I feel about Zach Taylor, but
I got to give him a pass this year because he was handed a Marvin Lewis crap team that he's the way that left that.
Yeah, so there's that, and then with the Packers, Hackett, the offensive coordinator, he got the job at the end of the year. I guess we'd have to wait and see on that, how that all works out. But there's going to be people trying to copy what the Kyle Shanahan tree is trying to do, whether that's McVay's offense, LaFleur's offense, or Kyle's offense going forward. They're going to try to create a copycat league. And there's around league circles, it's always Kyle is the guy. Like regardless of his records the last couple of years, that's due to a bad roster, but he was still making some plays. And Nick Mullins, he made an undrafted free agent like Nick Mullins play pretty well. CJ Beathard goes into Green Bay, He's one interception away from beating them last year, and CJ's not very good. So the offense works. It doesn't work when you don't have a plan B, which is kind of what we're seeing with Sean McVay, in my personal opinion. Sean McVay is one way or no way, and you're seeing that kind of repeat itself week in and week out. If you can stop his run and those deep overpasses, it's not going to work. So I think the Packers, or I think Hackett will probably be in line, and I'm pretty sure Mike McDaniels from the Niners, he's the run game coordinator, will definitely get some interviews either for a head coaching position or an offensive coordinator position. So yeah, the coaching tree is going to definitely expand because of these three guys, McVay, LaFleur, and Kyle Shanahan, of course.
What about Mr. Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator?
Robert Saleh, there's been some reports that he's a hot name in league circles, but the way the NFL is going now, it may just be more offensive oriented. I don't think he's going to leave just yet. But the way the Niners defense has played and grown each year, he of course is going to get some interviews. Robert Saleh, he's also attached to Matt and Mike LaFleur. They were all at Central Michigan together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As QAs and QCs. So those guys are all tied together, in some way, shape, or form. So this matchup is it's loaded with, connections as far as their
coaching. It's a huge
staff.
web of connections across the board. And you know what? I think a lot of people were saying this might be a revenge game for Matt LaFleur because he tried to bring over his brother Mike and Kyle stopped him. And I'm like, really? Are people playing this angle? Really? I'm like, come on. God, I'm like, of course Mike would either. I mean, it's his brother or basically the guy who brought him in the NFL coaching tree. And I mean, who cares which one he goes to? He's still going to be under a good coaching tree,
Yeah, no, and Mike was on a podcast for one of the local guys here. For his name is Matt Mayogo. He had a podcast, and he had Mike on, and they discussed that too. But the idea was. What Mike was going to do under Matt is the same thing he was going to do under Kyle. And Mike has kids, and his family had been settled in here already 2 years. He wasn't going to leave because of that. So there's no tension or any type of revenge thing going on there. That's just typical. It
was maybe a silly angle more than anything.
Yeah,
a little brotherly hatred love going on there.
Exactly.
But there's one thing that Jay has brought up multiple times, and I don't know if it happens because we don't pay attention to how Kyle runs his press conferences and stuff like that. And there's one thing we've noticed with Matt LaFleur is the culture in the locker room. He basically makes it so the players have to rely on each other rather than having to lean on the coach. Basically, a lot of older players are taking younger players underneath their wing. And there's one thing I've seen is Staley's done that with McGlinchey. So I didn't know if that's going across the rest of the team like it is in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think, when you look at it, you just said it, Staley and McGlinchey, Richard Sherman and these young cornerbacks, guys like Jaquiski Tartt, mentoring the guys who've been, rookies or second-year guys. The running back room, with Tevin Coleman, who's been in the league a little bit longer than Matt Breida. I think the older vets are helping out the younger guys. There's not really a me-first mentality about these Niners like had been in the past, during, when Michael Crabtree was there and things like that. This team seems very unified. They are together. I don't know if you guys watched the most recent Niner game against the Cardinals. The Niners lost Ronald Blair, one of the better pass rushers.
Yeah, I saw that. I know he does a lot of sub packages for y'all.
Yeah, and then DeForest Buckner gets a sack on Kyler Murray, does a celebration for Ronnie Blair, and it's a big thing for them because they're so united. And Ronald Blair is a free agent at the end of the year, and I think he's going to come back. But the fact that this team is so united, they brought it up after the game. They're out there fighting for their brothers and the guys who they've been with together. And you got to think guys like Buckner, Ronald Blair, they were there for that 2-14 season with Chip. They were there for that 6-10 year under Kyle the first year, and then last year, it didn't go so well, 4-12. So they've been through the ringer and through the mud together, and for them to see success and have one of their guys go down, it's a big deal. So yeah, the veterans are taking the younger guys under the wing and establishing this depth that the Niners keep. It just keeps popping up each week. Somebody goes down, somebody comes up, and fills in amicably.
And you know what? You notice backups being able to come in, but the players around him lift him up too. It's not
Yep.
just the backer comes in and does his job. It's like I've seen on the